All right, y'all. Day 17 of the Diddy trial. Sean Combs, United States versus Sean Combs. Y'all, this is another day of crazy behind testimony, and of course, another crazy day of something just absolute insane happening. So we're going to go ahead and start by talking about one of the biggest things for today was the judge getting on P.Diddy about nodding to the jury, whether in agreement, saying yes, he agreed, or no, he did not agree. And the crazy part is, what everybody needs to know, when he is facing towards the judge and he is facing towards the witness that is actually making a testimony, it's like this. The jury is off to the side. So if he's addressing the jury and he's making gestures to the jury, he's literally having to turn and do this. And these head shakes are extremely noticeable. Okay? Yeah. He cannot do that. Well, here's the thing. He's been doing this absolutely the whole time this trial has been going on. Maybe not as bad, but he's been doing it because everybody that's reporting on this, that is in the courtroom as well as the overflow room, has all been saying, why are they allowing him to do this? But I guess it got to a point today where the judge says enough is enough. Unfortunately, when he told him this, the jury was not around to hear him say this, but he basically warned him, either you're going to stop addressing the jury by your facial head gestures, or you will not be inside this courtroom, and basically told the defense that they need to get a handle on their client because he's not allowed to do that. Well, he wasn't allowed to do it from day one, but y'all been allowing him to. And this was one of the things I was saying about how the judge got to get control over his courtroom, because a lot of stuff that is happening in there should not be happening. By the way, just like the woman that they had escorted out of there, they had caused other issues. They're allowing her to go back inside there. Now, she can't go back inside the physical courtroom, but she can go in the overflow room. Like, this is, I don't get it on that note. Like, as high profile as this is, as severe and serious as this is, why are you allowing these things to happen? Are we trying to get a mistrial here? Are we trying to interfere with the trial? Like, we have to get better control of what's going on and what are we allowing inside this courtroom, because there's just so much stuff that is happening with this case that should not be happening. And it's just mind-boggling that it is allowed to do. But let's go ahead and finish because there's so much to tap into here. Well, they started off with talking with Brianna Bonglon. Basically, they was finishing off with her from the testimony that she gave. Now, she was talking to the prosecution yesterday, but then the defense got a hold of her today, and it was not good. They tried to tear her down left and right. And I got a lot of notes here, so you'll see me looking down, reading my notes on what actually happened here, because a lot of stuff did. They basically was talking to her about the dates that Diddy supposedly held her over the balcony by the tatas. Yeah. And they were questioning her about that, those dates that he allegedly held her over the balcony. And they was really gearing in on the dates, because the dates that she claimed that he was dangling her over the balcony, he was actually at an event. Now, she still held on to the fact that he did do it, but they were going in on the fact that whether or not she could actually remember what happened and what did not happen because of all the drug use that was going on, that maybe she is confused. Maybe she really don't know, but she held on strong to say, I might basically, my dates might be off, but my recollection of what happened definitely happened. But that will come out a little bit later when they redirected, or the prosecution did, by trying to clean up the mess that the defense did. But while the defense had her on that stand, baby, they were wearing her down. They also brought up messages between her and Cassie that happened after supposed dangling over the balcony, the time frame that she said that it actually happened, and then follow-up messages where she was communicating about Cassie about coming back to the very hotel that this incident happened. So that, I guess, one, they would say, why would you voluntarily go back to the place where you could have been unalive, or this traumatic experience happened to you? You know, why did you go back? Why didn't you report this to the police? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And then they was also grilling her not only about the messages, but some of those messages that was on there was where Cassidy, her, and Deontay was talking about coming back there, hanging out, and she was saying like, sure, yes. And then Brianna was also asking about whether or not Diddy wanted a shirt or either a sweater. And so they was trying to gear in, like, if this man did this to you, then why are you asking him whether or not he want a shirt or a sweater? I mean, wouldn't you want to distance yourself from him? But at the same time, it looked like you're trying to engage with the very man that, you know, could have unalived you, that, you know, was trying to hurt you, that you say you have a problem with. But here you're in conversation and having conversations with this man, and it don't seem like you have an issue with him dangling you over this balcony. In fact, you're not even first mentioning anything about him dangling over the balcony. You're talking about shirts and sweaters and coming back to the very hotel that he was dangling you over. Like, why would you do this? And she's basically telling them, like, look, we had talked about it, and I was trying to be cordial. I was trying to not necessarily get over it, but I was trying to just go with the flow because he wasn't acting nasty at the time. I was trying to be cordial with him. I guess I can see their point in it. Why are you trying to be cordial with somebody who could have potentially unalived you 17 floors down? Splat, you know, that wouldn't end good for you, girl. Ain't no way in the world you can held me upside down and then I'm gonna come back and talk to you. But, you know, this is what they was doing to her, not trying to shame her because she's a victim or whatever, but they're just talking about her judgment and her choices as to why she did this. And then they started talking about the lawsuit that she had actually filed against P. Diddy last year, where she was claiming her neck, her leg, and her back was injured, as well as they was contradicting her statement as to, she said he was dangling her from her breast, and then she was saying he was actually holding me like from my breast, but then they was like, no, you said he was groping you from your breast, and she was like, I'm not sure I actually said that. So it was like, it was a lot of discrepancy from one report to the next versus what she said in court and now what she's saying to them. So basically they were trying to make her look like she was lying. But she held on to the fact that, no, it actually happened. They was really trying to make her seem like her testimony is not that credible. Because of all the drugs, she can't really remember anything. There are receipts to show that this man was in another location when you claim he was dangling you over the balcony. Now, on redirect, with the prosecution, they did show where Cassidy and her had a email or a text message where they were talking about this, and in fact, Cassidy had reached out to KK, where she had told KK he busted in did this to Brianna and then dangle her over the thing. So there was receipts on both ends. So maybe there was an issue far as the actual day, but it was within days of each other. So she could have been off a few days, but all that was done just to basically make her not credible. But regardless of what actual date it happened, and there's receipts that it happened. But they were trying to go against, you know, her credibility, her testimony. But one could say because of something so traumatic, maybe she can't remember everything the way it happened. You know, that's really a traumatic event. Somebody dangling you over the balcony. Come on now. And they had receipts where he was off at an event, and he was ordering food at the hotel he was in. Now mind you, they were ordering food from Frank Black. In fact, they said, can one man be in two places at one time? And she was like, technically, I guess he could. Well, I guess let's look at this. Technically, can he? He didn't actually say it was P.Diddy. He used Frank Black, so any one of his associates could have used his name, Frank Black, and ordered that food. It wouldn't necessarily had to be him, but that could have been his alibi as to he was trying to appear to be one place, but really was somewhere else. So y'all got to also look at it at that point. And then there was one statement where it was saying that he was at this event the day before she claimed that he did it. Well, as far as the day before he was ordering food, well, if somebody else was ordering food up under his name and he was actually at the hotel with the lady dangling her off, then theoretically he can be there at two places at one time. We know this man goes by various aliases, and we have had witness to people saying they use that name for him. So it's a possibility. I'm not completely sold that he was actually where he was versus him dangling her over the balcony, because there's receipts of him dangling her over the balcony, including injuries. So that way, clearly you could see she had suffered some injuries on top of Cassidy's text message to KK, letting her know what actually had happened. So the event definitely happened. It ain't a question of whether or not it happened or not. It happened. Now, maybe the time frame may be off, but maybe it wasn't. You know, they're trying to play on the fact that she was highly intoxicated with drug, with stuff in her system, that maybe she was a little bit off with all the extra stuff that was going on. But that's their job. That's their job to discredit. But I'm sorry, the evidence is there. It still happened. So you got to kind of move past that. But Brianna also stated that she never wanted Cassidy to name her in her lawsuit. In fact, she didn't want any type of publicity about this or her incident coming up. It wasn't until she was actually contacted from the feds about all this that now she's having to speak on it. She also said she probably didn't remember every single detail, and she might be confused on the date, but it definitely happened. And that kind of came out in redirect. And like I said, they got KK phone and saw that Cassidy wrote KK and told her about Diddy barging into the house, Brianna, and dangling her over the roof. So like I said, it definitely happened. Like during this time while all this was going on, Diddy's on the side. I'm looking directly at the jury, which he wasn't supposed to do. Now, the judge didn't address him at that moment, but he did address him once they made the jury leave out. And after the judge made the jury leave out, he addressed him and his attorneys after the fact. Say, look, that's it. If I catch you again, you're out of here. You're not gonna be here. You need to get a hold of your your client, because this will not continue to go on in my courtroom. They also brought an expert witness by the name of Enrique, and he was basically analyzing Cassidy's phone, where he was retrieving messages and audio files that were deleted, but he retrieved them so that way he could show what was going on. And so this is how they were able to show everything that was happening, as far as Cassidy contacting people and saying whatever she was saying, because they retrieved those files. And they said those was the most active reflections on her phone. So those were actually credible messages. Then of course there was Jane, victim number 2. Now, Jane is not her real name. Jane is an alias. She's going by because she don't want everybody to know who she is. Well, here's the thing. Y'all say y'all don't want nobody to know who you is, but you give so much freaking detail about your life that you kind of know who you are. You know, this ain't hard to figure out who she is. But for the sake of everything, we ain't saying it on here. But go ahead, after I read what she said, you too will know who she is. Okay, and this is not like I'm putting up information out here. This is what she told the court. This is what's going on public record, so everybody knows this, whether or not they say her name or not. Okay, it is what it is. Okay. Well, she basically introduced herself as victim number 2, Jane. And she starts off by saying how she met Diddy. And she basically met Diddy because her best friend was dating P.Diddy Combs. And she met him in Miami at an event, and he kind of came on to her, right? She also said that her baby's father and Combs don't get along whatsoever. It's like they really cannot stand each other. Okay, so she has a well-known baby daddy that P. Diddy don't like, and of course now he's hitting on this person's baby's mom. Okay, so his baby mom, right? I had to make sure I said that right. So you're giving out some very good details about who you are. But anyway, okay, and I digress on that note. Okay, but she continues on about how her best friend was dating P. Diddy, and he came on to her, and that they had a relationship they had a relationship from 2021 up until 2024 when he was arrested. The relationship ended when they came and got him and click, locked him up, right? She also went on to say that it started off good until it took a crazy turn. She said that their first date lasted for about 5 days, and on the first date that they went on, they had a very long romantic night where they made lots and lots of love. Okay, and then from there it was I love you, you love me, and it was all the name calling, Snookums, baby, and Ernie. She was Bert, Ernie from Sesame Street, you know, Ernie. She was Bert, he was Ernie. Y'all, just ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. And that anytime they went on any of the events, he would always bring KK and all the staff with him. So she was well aware of everybody, as far as the staff. That he would take trips with her, and she also said at the beginning of her relationship, before she got involved with Diddy, she was a content creator, but then, and a single mom, of course, of famous baby mama of a famous arch enemy of P. Diddy. Yeah, and she said that to finish along. During that time, they took a lot of trips. She started doing drugs with Diddy, and that he was the one who introduced her to these drugs. And that she said she started taking these pills, and from the very first time she took the pills, her body had a bad reaction. She started shaking, and she passed out or whatnot. And that KK and some employees took her into the shower to kind of revive her because things weren't going right when she first took these. At the time, I believe that she said it was ecstasy pills. And then they started giving her a lower dose, which her body kind of could handle or whatever. And she kind of explained how she felt when she first got on it, how it made her feel, and or whatever. I mean, she went in very grave detail about how these pills made her feel, how she reacted or whatever. And it seemed like she was just a willing participant as far as, at this point. Then she started getting very emotional when she started talking about this, because she was saying how it went great. Then all of a sudden, they was watching, sexual movie, one of those movies with the P. I don't know if we can say that. And he started saying how he could make that fantasy happen for her that night. And then he contacted a guy to come over there in order for them to do the fantasy. The guy name was Don, who ended up being a escort from Cowboys from Angel, a conversation that was also recovered from Cassidy's phone. That's where that name sounds familiar. Yeah, he got an escort from Cowboys from Angels. He came over and they started. Diddy wanted her to basically do what she was doing. For her to do what Cassidy was doing, basically. I mean, she explained it very explicit what he wanted her to do, as far as like the escort down with baby oil, and how they had the room set up and everything, and Diddy was, in the background inside his robe just watching them, getting off what he was, getting off by looking at them do what they do. When it came down to the act, she did ask whether or not he could use protection, and Diddy was like, but she used the real word. She was like, well, do you have one? And he had told her no, because the guys are tested all the time, so he ain't worried about anything. He knows them. He's very comfortable with them, and she needed to relax and just do what he wanted her to do. And then Diddy requested that she perform the big O. She used her mouth at first on this gentleman, and while he watched, and he called this their hotel night. So it wasn't called freak offs with her, it was called hotel nights. But the same thing would happen. He would make her make sure her hair, nails, and stuff was done, the red lights, the candles. He even went as far as to ask her to pierce her tatas. Because that was going to turn him on. She did say that these hotel nights, as they called them, went on from May 2021 up until 2023. She basically said when they started doing it, it sort of opened like a Pandora's box with them. She had to make herself available to him whenever he wanted to. They always had to prepare the rooms. For these hotel nights, of course, she had to always keep herself up. She said during that time when she was doing this with him, her social content declined because he consumed all of her time, because like these events would last for days, like 5 days at a time. She didn't talk about the IVs and stuff like Cassie did, but they're gonna finish talking to her tomorrow and possibly even Monday, so some more stuff might come out, I'm not sure. But right now she's not really focusing on that. She said that when she started doing this, Diddy was paying anywhere from $5,000 to the highest being like $20,000. He would wire her money on top of he was paying her rent. And on the lease, it said that the rent was $10,000. She asked Diddy for $15,000, but he will only give her $10,000 on top of paying for her to get wherever he needed her to be. And they would go all kind of places, like from New York to Los Angeles to Miami. So they was just traveling all over. So even though right now no force or coercion seemed to be happening, other than the fact where he said if she stopped doing what she was doing, then he would stop paying her bills. He would stop giving her money. The only thing right now that's on the table is the transport to engage in prostitution. Maybe that. Or I guess they can say he controlling her by her finances. If she doesn't do the things that he want, then she's not going to get what she wants. She did say that her only source of income at that time was because she wasn't doing money from her content creation, because of all the stuff she was doing with him, was from her baby daddy, the famous baby daddy, and from Diddy, the $10,000 that he was paying for her rent. But that was being just transferred to her to her leasing agent. In fact, they found an email between her landlord, and Diddy's accountant, where they was wiring her $10,000 for this transaction. And this transaction was called their good faith love contract. It wasn't nothing written, but it was verbally, other than that email. Yeah, so he basically told her if she continued to do everything, he will continue to do it, but if she stopped, so did the money. So she felt like she was forced to continue doing this with him, or he was going to stop paying her, basically. And at this point, because of all these freak off, you know, her source of income, the content creation, was affected because of all these freak offs. I mean, she didn't call it freak offs, hotel nights. Arabian night. I guess it's hotel night. I guess, because he ain't calling this one freak off. It's hotel nights. God darn, this is crazy. But like I said, she will continue, and I'm not trying to make light of it, but right now, just listening to this, girl, it just seemed like you just wanted this man to take care of you. And you agreed to it because, okay, so here's my take on this, and I mean, I like to hear how y'all feel about it. I mean, the whole relationship started because he was dating your friend. So right there, this shouldn't have never went as far as, hey, how you doing, and bye, because he was in a relationship with your friend and y'all hooking up and doing, and you falling in LOVE. And now you done found yourself in a freak off, aka Holy Nights. So I mean, this is a little bit different than the Cassidy situation versus her, and really to me it just seemed like, because she's stressing the fact that her baby daddy and him don't get along. Are you doing it to piss off your baby daddy, or is he doing it to piss off your baby daddy? Like, what? I'm on this note, you know, I guess we got to listen to the rest of it, but right now I'm just not really seeing where he is forcing you to do this, other than you want your rent paid. But if that's the case, you know, you played yourself when you got with him versus leaving your best friend man alone. And that's just my opinion on this. But unless she finna say something else, and then I say, okay, well, maybe she was a victim. But right now, you played yourself by messing with your best friend man, and now you just want him to give you some money for this $10,000. And you know, I ain't on the side of no P. Diddy. He is a monster. He need to be in jail. He need to do the time for everything he done did for everybody else. But on this note so far, they better come with it with this one, because this ain't it. This one right here ain't it. Yeah, I don't see it there, but you know, hey, it's more to come. We don't know what else is going to transpire from this, you know, because according to her, she would have still been in his head. He wouldn't have been locked up because that was her man. So yeah, y'all, I don't know what to say. Y'all tell me what y'all think, but this was day 17. I will be coming out with a video next, breaking down all the charges of RICO, so you can get a better understanding of RICO. So stay tuned for that video. And that one's coming up right after this one. As always, be your brothers and sisters. Keep God first. Talk to you later. Toodles.